Hey everyone, how's it going? You're watching Koiki Lumpur. In today's video, I wanted to teach you how to learn anything for free. And I mean anything, whether it's cooking, whether it's going to the gym to lift weights, whether it's to become more flexible doing yoga, whether it's to make money trading stocks, whether it's to open up MacBooks and start soldering the motherboards and doing fucking MacBook motherboard repair. You can learn any of these skills that you have completely zero experience and expertise and exposure to from scratch for free. And I've been doing this personally for most part of my life, the last few decades. Most of the things that I've learned that I know that I'm good at, everything from freaking building a server in my living room to mine crypto, all the way to trading said crypto on the internet. All those skills I never went to school for, just picked it up on my own. And I wanted to share this with you guys because I've noticed, not recently, but just over the years, how many people just love to complain about their white collar jobs that they've been stuck at for so long that they fucking hate because it's toxic, they don't get paid enough, blah, blah, blah. I've talked about this so many times on this channel. And one of the reasons why they're stuck where they are is because they're unable to venture out to do something on their own. And the reason why they can't go do that is because they say that they don't have the skills to do something. I don't have the cooking skills to go start a restaurant. I don't have the trading skills to go start trading stocks and stock options and futures. I don't have the experience at running a business or opening one in the first place, so I don't know how to, so I'm probably going to fail. And the reason why you have that mindset is because of the education systems that we've all been brainwashed in. You see, the education systems in many countries across the world aren't designed to actually empower you as a human being to ensure that you can go out there and do whatever you want. They're designed to just beat you into place to become obedient little white-collar slaves in the future. That's why they don't teach critical thinking, especially in Asia. That's why they don't teach you how to be curious, to start questioning things. They don't want you to have that independent train of thought because God forbid you go out there and run your own business and not work for someone else as an indentured white-collar slave for the rest of your life until retirement. Or maybe even worse, God forbid that you start having independent thoughts of your own and you start questioning everything that your government has put in place, all those stupid policies that aren't really for your safety and security, but really for profit. And not for your profit because they're taking it out of your taxpayers' money. It's for people up there to profit at the taxpayers' expense. God forbid that happens. That's why the education systems in so many countries are the way that they are. Now, talk for 3 minutes now, and that method of learning is extremely simple. It's called reverse engineering. You don't need anything, at least not money. You just need a bunch of time and a bunch of persistence to go along with that. I'll give you a couple of examples ranging from the time when I was a little kid all the way into adulthood with actual ventures that I've done. Now let's go into that first example. Actually, that came after I first learned how to build a website, so I don't know if it's going to be the first example per se in my life, but let's go ahead and go into it. Math homework. So there was a time when I was starting to fall behind my homework and I got found out by the teacher and she gave me a week to complete the homework from the beginning of the year to about mid-year that I had completely missed out on. And one of the things that came about as an idea is if I not just did the homework that I was supposed to do, but all the homework for the rest of the year, I wouldn't have to think about doing my homework, at least for this class, ever again for the rest of the year. So I started doing not just the homework that was previously required that I didn't do, I started doing the homework that would be required in the future. And in order for me to understand how to do the parts of the workbook that the teacher hadn't yet taught, but was going to teach in the future and get ahead of her in terms of what she was about to assign us, I started learning through reverse engineering. And the way that I did that was I would go into the workbook and look at the first question that I didn't know how to do. And then I would go back to the answers page at the end of the book And I would look at the answer. Sometimes there would be some basic steps outlined as to how the answer was derived, which made my job a lot easier. Sometimes it was just the answer. And if it was just the answer, what I would do is I would go back to the question and I would try to do the question based on my own way of how I saw that I could potentially do it, and see if I could get the same answer as what was mentioned at the end of the book, which was different from a lot of the kids who would just straight up go into the answers section of the book and start writing down those answers directly into the answers box of those questions without showing any of their work. Now, obviously that was a problem because you would not be able to show your work, which means that the teacher found out really quick that you were just copying from the answers. And more importantly, B, you didn't learn how to do the question. So you could finish all your homework in advance for the entire year, but come to the exams, you wouldn't be able to answer the questions and you would just fail them anyway. I didn't want to do that. So I wanted to do things in a way that was a kind of win-win. I would be able to answer all those questions myself, and I would also be able to learn without having to wait on the teacher. So that's what I did. That's how I started doing a lot of the workbook for the rest of the year. And as I mentioned in a previous video, I later got scolded by that teacher because I was supposed to do all the homework that I missed out on. But who asked you to do the rest of the book? I didn't tell you to do that. See what I mean by the school systems that we're often brainwashed in are really about conditioning you to obey for instructions, wait for instructions, listen to instructions. It's not to be able to develop yourself as an independent human being. Now, the other thing that I also did, actually 2 years before that math workbook incident happened, was when I was 11 or 12 years old, I got really curious about building websites. My mom was one of the OG web developers before they were even called web developers in the first place. She was a software engineer before that term came about. And she would do a lot of these tech things, algorithms for a gambling company in Malaysia. And what she would do on the side was actually build websites for independent customers. That was her kind of side gig to make extra coin outside of the salary that she was getting paid in. And I got curious about this. She was also very willing to share because she was always willing to teach us kids how to do things outside of the basic bitch skill set that we were taught in schools, because she also knew that the schooling education systems, especially the one in Malaysia, is almost close to useless in terms of practical skills, intelligence, and personal development. The schooling system, again, is a glorified babysitter that teaches you how to obey, how to listen for instructions, how to not deviate from the instructions that you're given so that you can become an obedient white-collar slave in the office in the future. So she taught me how to build websites when I was 11 years old. And she showed me the basic ropes, but she couldn't be there like the entire time, right? Like she was at work most of the time from 8 to 5 every day. And the limited time that she had was during the evenings, and she'd be tired from work and all the politics that happened at the office anyway. And the few times that she had was really during the weekend to show me, just the basics. And I had to learn a lot of that stuff myself. So what I did was I started going to websites on the internet, and I started going to view source. And then I would copy the entire source code of whatever website that I kind of liked looking at. Like I thought that layout was amazing. I thought those graphics looked nice, whatever. I would copy all that into Notepad and then save it offline. And then I would start experimenting with the source code and making changes, and then seeing what changes on the front end, which is what shows up on the browser. And then that's basically how I got started to learn how basic coding works. And I've since applied that to a lot of things, computer and tech wise, which is why I have the fucking skill set that I have right now. And it's not like I went to school to get a degree in computer science to get all of that knowledge. I basically had all that foundation up and running before I even finished high school. And later on in adulthood, I've done a lot of things. Like I said, I've built a fucking crypto mining server farm in my goddamn living room before. That hardware know-how to be able to build a server rack out of consumer hardware and string together 6 graphics cards powered to 1 motherboard and 2 mother supplies. I didn't go to any seminar or course or fucking degree to learn how to do that. What I did was based on the basic skills that I had, that I knew how to build a PC for gaming. I just went on the internet and I started looking for resources like, how would I solve this problem? How would I string together all these graphics cards onto 1 motherboard, because there's only 2 full-size PCIe slots on most ATX motherboards. What about the other 4 small-size PCIe slots that could only fit this tiny sliver of a PCIe X1 connector? How would I then power 6 graphics cards using 1 power supply, because that probably won't be enough? How do I string together 2 power supplies to be able to channel that power into 1 motherboard? And guess what? I managed to do all of that by myself. Same thing with my little challenge last year, where I started to learn how to become a full-time day trader. I started out with NASDAQ options and also crypto. Later experimented, got curious about Forex at the end of last year and got into Forex as well in Christmas 2024. Like, I didn't know how to day trade before the start of last year. I mean, sure, I did a couple of basic bitch, exchanges between different shit coins into the majors like Ethereum and Bitcoin back in the day when I used to mine shit coins. But I didn't know how to actually trade. I learned all that shit myself. And the way that I did was I learned it through reverse engineering. I went out to look for a bunch of people, vetted them. I did what I call my autistic background checking. Some just call it Sherlock Holmesing, whatever. I went to do a lot of research into a couple of people that I found on the internet, made sure that I was confident that those people actually traded the things that they claimed that they traded. And then I took all of their trades, put them into an Excel file, and then went into freaking trading view, clicked the replay button, went back in time, and then started plotting out their entry points, their stop loss points, their take profit targets. And then I tried to put myself in their shoes and try to look for what they were seeing when they decided to enter those trades, when they decided to move those stop losses up. What were they seeing when they decided to manually cut the position, whether it was a profit or loss? I did all of that in the last 1 year by myself. That's actually what I've been doing as well on my live streams on this channel, which I started like a month ago. I'm going to shill that real quick. I believe that knowledge is power, and I don't believe in gatekeeping. So what I do is I realized that I was doing that so often by myself that, I might as well do it like Louis Rossmann used to do for his MacBook motherboard repairs. I might as well live stream what I'm doing when I'm reverse engineering all these trades on this channel. So hopefully whoever is watching live or in the future will be able to take away something as well. So that way I'm learning something when I'm going through these trades from the past from these different people, but I'm also helping someone else along the line, hopefully, to make my little part of the world or my little part of the internet where this channel sits on a little bit of a better place at least. So that's my don't delay, watch my live streams today pitch. And that's how I learned a lot of things in life for free, because I'm a cheap fuck. In case you haven't realized, I spent $70 US in the last 15 years on Steam. The other day I just went to look at that out of curiosity while waiting for a game to start. I play this 25-year-old game called Age of Empires, and I was live streaming that. You can check that out. I think it was last week that I did that, and I went to this purchase history, the transaction history, and I realized I only spent $70 of my own money in the last 15 years on video games. And here all these people are on Reddit and all these video game forums saying that they spent like tens of thousands of dollars on microtransactions and all that bullshit. Like, I'm a cheap fuck. I'm extremely allergic to spending money. I'm extremely allergic to spending said money, especially on education, right? Whether that's a formal education in the form of a degree, whether it's a freaking weekend seminar or course, but especially all these gurus. I'm not someone who believes trading gurus at all. In fact, when I was much younger, I used to say that trading gurus are a scam because they make their money off the content that they're teaching as opposed to actually doing what they're teaching people how to do. And that is a stance that I've maintained for the longest time. I'll talk about this in more detail. I did pay for 2 different trading gurus in the last 1 year as part of my trading journey just to be able to accelerate myself a little bit more. But for most part, all my learning methods have been free. And I hope you can apply reverse engineering again to whatever it is that you want to do, and just not sit there and say, I don't have the skill set, I don't know how to do it, and I don't have the time or money to go pay for a course, therefore I'm not going to be able to do anything, and I'm just going to keep working this miserable white collar job that I'm stuck at for the rest of my life until I retire at 7 years old. Stop making excuses and start doing things for your sorry ass so that you can become a more free human being in the future. Come on, you have to do it. You have to do it, because at this point in time, if you look at how the economy is doing, how the employment rates are doing, how all the layoffs are happening, what other choices do you have? That's it for today, and I hope you learned something. See you all in the next video. Goodbye.